Hello Internet, Rockaholic Dude of RoseTintGaming here to bring you a Retro-bution review, where we look at an older game and see what relevance it has in the present day. When looking into quality retro games, I utilize lists and recommendations from online sources that are available in mass, having not grown up with any of the old retro consoles. But you already know what game is on the chopping block for today because it's in the title of the video. You might have never heard of Flintstones, The Rescue of Dino and Hoppy, or maybe you grew up with it, whatever. Most top 100 lists I could find for recommendations don't list Flintstones with the exception of the Ultimate NES app, which boasted a 4 out of 5 score. Most buzz for a retro Flintstones game is around the sequel, Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, due to its rarity and price on the market. But before I give up a month's rent for an NES game, I thought I'd start at the much cheaper and equally rated first game. Before picking it up, I looked for other reviews and only found the NESguy.com score of 7 out of 10 and a GamePro magazine review from issue 30, January 1992, claiming a 5 out of 5 for gameplay and fun factor. Seemed good enough to try. Flintstones, The Rescue of Dino and Hoppy is an action platformer for the Nintendo Entertainment System released in December 1991 by Taito Corporation. This was well after acclaimed platformer classics for the console that we know and love today, like the Super Mario Bros. Trilogy, and even the launch of Super Mario World alongside the Super Nintendo in August of 1991. So Taito had a lot to reference as far as quality when building this licensed property game. Taito had proved a quality game publisher with the release of Bubble Bobble, an arcade-style platformer on the console earlier in 1998. Seeing that a quality company I recognized was behind the title, and it having good reviews from multiple sources, I thought I would be in for a sweet treat. I was wrong. Dead fucking wrong. I don't know much about the Hanna-Barbera cartoon universe lore, having not grown up with the shows, but basically the story of Flintstones is this green space-aged guy, Gazoo, is hanging out with the literal cavemen, the Flintstones, when an evil villain type shows up from the 30th century in a time machine to give this video game a plot. He steals the Flintstones' pets, Dino and Hoppy, for a zoo exhibit in the future and destroys Gazoo's time machine, presumably because he's a dick. You, the player, as Fred Flintstone, have to go through 7 levels to get all of the pieces of Gazoo's destroyed time machine before you get to go fight Mr. Future Cruella de Vil. Why would he leave all the parts of his broken time machine in the past? And why didn't he just kill the Flintstones right there if he had the capacity to shoot lasers? I have no fucking idea, but whatever, because a video game has to happen. The Flintstones works on a lives and health bar system, allowing for multiple errors on the player's part in theory. Avoid enemies and don't fall into holes to make it to the end of the level to fight a boss, not breaking any new ground there. Fred has a club that can be charged by holding the B button for a stronger attack. Along the way, Fred can collect 3 different sub-weapons, coins dropped from enemies as ammunition for the sub-weapons, Bronto Burgers to increase the power bar for the club charge attack, and Cactus Coolers to increase the life bar by 1 empty heart. To fill the life bar, you have to collect a heart icon, which the game is very stringent to hand out. This is the only way to regain health in the game, even if you increase your life meter. There's a single extra life hidden in each of the levels that does not respawn upon death, only after continuing. They provide very little help through the entire experience, though there are unlimited continues, with the only drawback being starting the level over again from the start. Unlike other more traditional platform games, Flintstones has a ledge grab mechanic for all of its platforming. This is done by pressing the A button on the controller and holding it in to have Fred dangle off of a ledge. Not just any ledge. The very specific ledges that the game determines are dangleable. If you let go of the jump button while hanging, he falls. You have to press up on the D-pad for every ledge that you are required to platform onto. This wouldn't be that big of an issue if the ledges were visibly within range of your jump arc. More often than not, you have to jump hoping that Fred will grab onto the ledge that you intended for him to grab onto, making every jump a breath-holding stress weight to see if you made it. If the game says you miss, you die. Since we're on the topic of death, every time you die, not only do you lose a life, you also lose a heart container, half of your coins, all of your sub-weapons, and are sent to the beginning of the stage. The exception to this being at a boss fight, where you will start right outside the boss unless you run out of lives and continue. Every death feels unjustified. Not that you screwed it up, but that it was laid out to make you screw up the first time you attempted a new single foot of level. There's no password save for progress, so the entire game has to be completed in this flawless run in a single setting, but there are unlimited continues, so there's no excuse. Right? The NES is notorious for its difficult games, but Flintstones is ruthless to the point where it feels like a slap in the face. It's hard to explain, but it feels like Ninja Gaiden or Castlevania 3 level hard, except if the people making the game specifically wanted to fuck over the player. Including the intro stage and the final boss stage, there are only 8 levels and 3 basketball minigames, so it's relatively short. Yes, basketball minigames. It shifts from one of the hardest platformers I've ever played to the easiest one-on-one NBA Jam session ever. If you win these minigames, you get a power-up from Marvin the Martian during the platforming segments that not only does the game not tell you about, but are also pretty useless overall, so that's good. The difficulty of each stage is piss-boiling, self-harm-inducingly unfair, presumably to make up for its shortness. Every level has a contrived mechanic that never gets visited again, and leaves you asking, what the hell do I do? Forcing you to take leaps of faith just to lose another life. The entire game is a shitty memory test that leaves you squeezing your controller in anger. You do not get used to the terrible control over time, and every death feels like a personal attack from the developers. As mentioned before, it feels specifically made for you to screw it up so that it can send you back and make you do it again, only to come across the next how the hell do I do this moment. I made it to the ice and castle levels on my own and got absolutely stuck. In the castle level, there is a platforming segment that makes you avoid rising lava that has to be done perfectly, with no room for error to proceed. Just fucking look at this. I made it past this point, only to arrive at the boss with no lives, no sub-weapons, and died. I had to continue and start the whole level over. I did this for 5 continues until I decided to try the other stage that was open before I snapped my controller in half. The other level I had as an option was an ice level with frictionless ground. There are platforming segments above a bottomless pit with spikes on the ceiling. If you jump, you are damaged and cannot grab ledges and die. If you fall and Fred can't grab onto one of the ledges, you die. This is one of the worst ice levels I've ever experienced. If you start moving in one direction, you continue going forever until you push the opposite direction on the D-pad. But if you let go too late, Fred immediately gains momentum in the other direction and sprint slides off the nearest ledge. This ice momentum is even used to complete the level, forcing you to duck spikes, slide through, and stop yourself before falling off a ledge right before the boss. Eventually I made it to the Ice World boss, after a few continues, but I could not avoid getting hit by it as the hitbox is too large to jump over. The only reason I could even make it past the ice and castle levels was by using my Game Genie for an infinite lives, starting each life with the bomb sub-weapon, and the bomb sub-weapon using no coins codes. But even this didn't stop me from dying from the god-awful platforming. The infinite lives let me never continue on a boss fight, which would send me to the beginning of the level. Instead, I just start at the boss's front doorstep. The bomb sub-weapon is the only decent way to kill these later bosses without inevitably getting hit and chancing another level restart. By the water level, the stage after the castle level I could only beat by using Game Genie cheats, I realized I didn't care anymore, and was so far removed by anything the game might have had to offer, I wanted nothing more than for it to be over. Some people might say that the challenge is part of what makes the game fun, but Flintstones, the rescue of Dino and Hoppy, literally made me wish for death as a form of escape for the punishment I was receiving. It's the kind of game that has you screaming at your TV for what you're experiencing, but you can't stop, because if you do, the game wins, and you have to do all that shit again the next time you turn it on. After Underwater Hell, you arrive at the last stage before the final boss, Offensive Stone Age Asian Stereotype level.
Oh, God.
Blow the shit out of the sumo dinosaur because I'm cheating and I don't care anymore to get the last piece of Time Machine. You go into the future and meet George Jetson, who talks to you like you aren't a time-traveling caveman, and makes up some excuse to why he can't help you at all. Then you, as a literal Neanderthal, platform across the future city and square up to Mr. Totally Not Space Hitler. He has a no-shit rocket launcher and 2 mechs, but can't beat a troglodyte with a stick and a genie. And what do you think the end of the game is? They beat Professor Farnsworth to death with a club, and the pets have died being removed from their natural habitat? No. A 26-year-old NES game isn't holding some undiscovered secret of storytelling. We only recently got ironic enough for situations like that. No, it's the simplest and most predictable end possible. You get your pets, you go home in Kazoo's time machine, credits roll, can't do anything but turn off the console. Even if I was able to survive through this game without cheating, there would have been no sense of accomplishment. Of course, eventually I win. If you practice the same shitty pattern forever, you will eventually succeed. Just out of curiosity while writing this script, I looked up what speedruns had been done for this game, and it made me turn to go into the kitchen to find the nearest hot surface to place my face on. Listen. Bad breaks. Infested rich. Slies. Whatever they did to you to make you do this, I won't stand for it. If you need help, I'm here for you. Nothing that feels this awful to control or unfair to play should be rated anywhere near a 4 out of 5 stars or a 5 out of 5 on fun factor. Flintstones made me consider if what I was doing by exploring these old games as a hobby was even worth my time, effort, or use of life. But I suppose if you are into a challenge and brutal punishment for being alive, I'd suggest laying on a burning fire ant hill for the duration of the song Through the Fire and the Flames before shelling out cash for Flintstones: The Rescue of Dino and Hoppy. I'd hate to think that the rare and expensive sequel is anything like this, and for over $700. Fuck. Yabba dabba don't fucking play this game!
Alright, so it's recording right now. And then should it be that way? Probably. Okay. World Star! World Star!
Hey guys, thanks for watching my first Retro-bution review, and if you liked it, maybe leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. And if you have played Flintstones 1 or 2 for the NES, let me know what you thought in the comments below. See you next time!